Location number two will continue with project charter as we stop in location number one in communication as a communication point that we what will be the main channel for the communication. We have to know what is the main channel, how is the communication will be, what is the tools, do you anticipate any communication problems that should be clarified there if we have a problem in any communication, how often will the team meet, this regarding meeting times, if weekly meeting, daily meeting, monthly, to follow the work, how the communication tools, it will be by emails, by letters. Then we come to risk point. We talk about risk point before. That we have to know what are the main high level risks that have already been identified, and we can use risk rating. We can use online chart or risk evaluator to determine the level of the risk for this project. We can print out the result and copy the most significant risk into the space provided here, because we talk about high level risks. And risk is anything, as we said, is anything that could cause a project to fail. The risk can be internal or external. For example, for internal risk step learning curve due to first use of this new technology. If we are using a new technology, we have to follow the step learning curve, and sure, when you use anything new, you will meet many difficulty and we will face many problem till you used to use it. External risk, this depend on the external effects. Bending state legislation may cause change in requirements, changing country rules, which can stop your project or affect your project. Documentation, when we talk about documentation, we talk about where will project documentation will be kept. For example, every project has DCC or document controller section or department. They are keeping soft copy, hard copy for all the documents, and we talk about how it will be kept up to date, how the system will use to up to date. We have to mention in this part. Boundaries are there specific items that are not within the scope of the project. Some items it's not a part of scope of the project. This we call it boundaries. We have to mention in this part. Decision making process, what is the process to take a decision, and we should mention the sequence of the decision maker also. And for example, the project manager, if not the construction manager, if not the engineer, and so on. Last point here is the signature. You may want to ask people to sign an agreed upon final version of the charter. As we talk, we will make many review, and you have to get approval from some people. If they request some changes, we have to apply and change the version. At the end, we have to get the agreed official agreement about the charter, and on the approval, after the approval, it will be the final version of the charter. So we can document it and keep it after everyone approval. Before ending of the project charter, I need to talk about some points. It will help us to understand how to fill the form or how to use a template. I want to talk about financial and resource information. Funding source. You have to select the appropriate funding source from one of the following: operation budget, technology fund, grant, or other. If other, be sure specify all source and amount of funding from each source in the notes select section in the bottom of the charter. Number two, estimate of implementation cost. And this can come under the assumption. In preparing the estimate of implementation cost, analysis should be done to determine the cost completing the project or the cost to be organization for not doing the project at all. If there are significant options as to the scope of the project, list all options and their relative cost, and it should be under this assumption part. Return on investment or ROI data provide if available. Estimate of IT department resources. The IT department should complete this section when IT staff do the review of the project. However, the project section team is encouraged to consult with the IT department early in the charter preparation process. Estimate of other department resources required. How many employee needed for each department indicates extended to which business staff will be needed to work on this project. For example, subject matter experts, testers, and so on. We talk about the estimation of the cost, acquisition strategy. This point is very important. Acquisition strategy, sourcing strategy. For example, number one, organization managed and hosted. Organization personnel will manage and staff the project. The vendor managed and hosted. This vendor will manage and staff the project. Organization managed and vendor managed hosted. This means the organization will manage the project, but vendor personally will staff it. Vendor managed, organization hosted. This means vendor will manage the project, but the organization will provide other stuff. Regarding acquisition, this is a sourcing strategy. Acquisition strategy, this means number one, sole source or amend contract. One vendor will be selected for the project without the use of an RFP if the vendor is already under the contract with the organization. The contract will be amended to include this project. The RFP, request for bidding, competitive bid, or competitive bid. A request of proposal will be issued before a vendor is selected. So in this type of acquisition strategy, we have to request for proposal before the vendor selection. Number three, in-house or custom develop. This project will be completed within organization staff. Other, if combination of vendor will be involved in the project, check this box. List each vendor and description of the vendor responsibility in the notes selection of the charter. We'll talk about types of vendor assistance, how we can assist the vendor. For example, number one, turnkey solution. Turnkey is a product or service that is designed, supplied, built, or installed fully complete and ready to operate. The term implies that the end user just has to turn a key and start using the product or service. Number two, supplemental staffing, time and material. The organization can hire additional staffing from a vendor, like a manpower supplier company, on a time and material basis, whereby the vendor is paid for each hour the contractor's work. This arrangement is often used for ongoing support or when the effort needs to complete a project is difficult to measure. Vendor assisted or fixed price. For tightly defined project, fixed price contract can be negotiated with the organization will pay one price for all service delivered. Service could include software cost as well as the manpower cost needed for implementation. The cost of hardware and software, commercial of the shelf software is a product that used as is for a specific purpose in the project. For example, would be a time and attended application. One of the major advantages of cost software, which is mass produced, is its relatively low cost. At this point, our part for the project charter will end. I hope you know the sections of the project charter and how to fill each point, and you understand what is the meaning for each point. All this material and all my explanation will be available. I will provide you end of the course with all resources, so you can download it and you can keep it to understand better. We'll move to lecture number 3 with a new part. Thanks.